Undeniable 2020 election. Coronavirus better for Trump or Biden? Most of us are obviously concerned or bored in quarantine during this time, in pandemic, but thank you for those serving and volunteering to help curb the amount of deaths and amount of cases. Thank you. Coronavirus, whether it's done by April 15th, June 15th, or still raging in November, it will be the issue of the 2020 election. Now, there's really no way going around that. But who will it be? Trump or Biden? I think, just based off what's going on and several things that are discussed in this video, that this coronavirus situation, how it's been going out, will be stronger for Trump's re-election than a Biden election. This is Undeniable with Sir Kelly. Here I'll highlight news that once was reported, things that weren't reported, and further information on leftist bias and indoctrination at Michigan State University. So today is unlike any other Undeniable. So it's the 20th episode, and we're in the year 2020, and the election's coming up, and we have obviously a big national and global issue on our hands. Figured I would cover something that's all on our mind, the 2020 elections. How will this coronavirus situation impact elections? So it will form the elections in three big ways. First, the obvious question is, was the Trump administration better at handling the situation, or currently handling the situation if it's still in November, or would a Biden administration have been better? Second, all national issues have been tied into the coronavirus in some form or fashion. And there's been interesting to see how Americans have either changed their mind or how they've reacted in these national issues now with the coronavirus. I'll hit on that more in a bit. And then third, the coronavirus may just cause practical changes in the election, where, when, and how the election goes and how inauguration will be done. So, coming up, first, on Undeniable 20, so the first kind of hitting on, who would and who did a better job on handling or currently handling the situation. So Trump's handling of the coronavirus has been well. I mean, not extravagant, and in some ways very, we could have predicted Trump-esque, someone like Trump, like we could predict, his labeling of the virus, how he's, looked at the economy, stuff like that. We could kind of, predict, like, that's Trump, it's going to happen. But has it been better than what Biden is currently doing and likely would do in an administration? So first, one of the big things, and obviously I'm not going to be able to cover everything in just a shorter video, so these are just the main points. So one of the things that Trump did very early on was institute a travel ban to China, which makes sense. You have a virus or a disease originate from any country, the best thing to do is stop travel from and to that country of your citizens. And so the media called him, xenophobic, racist, all this stuff, as they always do. And Biden followed suit. He's right in line with political correctness. He is, completely online. He doesn't have much independence. It does not look like. And the one he does, it's usually misspoken or misguided and not coherent. So he followed suit on the political correctness. And travel ban makes sense. And now we're looking at it's like, yes, that made a lot of sense. And obviously then he did the one to and from the European Union and then the United Kingdom, which that makes sense too. And interesting enough, they didn't call him racist or xenophobic for that one. And Trump has also, secondly, very accurately placed blame on China. The government, the country, the communist regime, he's very accurately called them out. It's not just, there's this global virus, doesn't really matter where it came from, we just have to deal with it. I mean, it does matter where it comes from, because that's going to help us fight against it in the future, or if there's further problems down the road. So he's been very good, Chinese virus, virus from China, like Chinese originated virus, all different deviations came from China. The Chinese government was very bad at reporting it. It's been going on reportedly since November. They were shutting up doctors, top officials, who were speaking out. It's communist government. That's what happens in a communist government. And so you have to do that. Now people on the left are saying, oh, don't call it Chinese virus. It's not really about the Chinese government. It's more about you just gotta take care of it and heal it. Come on, we've got to know how it came and where it came from. Trump has also eased regulation. Opening more, medical practice across borders, state borders, trying to get more prescriptions, trying to get more things, right to try. They've been very hard on that before this. And a lot of states have it. Fortunately, in Michigan, our governor has decided to go against that policy, which is a whole other discussion. The stimulus for a lot of conservatives and obviously more libertarian oriented people was not the best news. A lot of them were very critical about, just dumping $2 trillion and the largest package and, any sort of government of that massive scale doing that much work. And obviously I have my own reservations. But in terms of what it politically looks like, it looks great. Both parties had different versions. Democrats were taking forever. Republicans had some changes. They finally got together. And you had pretty much all, him, Pelosi, and McConnell all, pushing for this thing. So that's it. It looks great, in that vein. Also, Trump he's not just talking about, shutting things down, like how do we stop this thing? He's looking at how do we get out of this? We can't just, Sweden, for example, didn't do that much compared. They didn't, like other countries, been doing these quarantines, shutting things down. UK was trying, the herd method, where essentially you just let people get infected, and then enough time, there's a resistance, and that, comes back, and that's proves to be stronger. And so there's different methods for sure, but Trump isn't just saying, he's obviously been talking about quarantines in New Jersey, New York just recently, yesterday I think it was, and he's been, pushing, social distancing. They started out early with washing hands. Pretty much all these things they're doing anyways is some variation of just basic, common sense and biblical medical practices of washing hands, distance, being clean. To a greater extent, obviously, quarantines at the far end of, keeping your distance and washing yourself. But he's talking about, how do we, rejuvenate the economy? How do we make sure that, these businesses aren't just going to shut down forever? Like, they might have a bump now and it might hurt. And he frankly doesn't like that. But how do we get out of this situation as quickly as possible? How do we make sure that government is ready to, take away these quarantines? That's another important thing. Take away these restrictions and let the American, might of America back to work. And it's hopeful. It's something that people want to get behind, where, Biden, not trying to do what he's done, not exactly the hopeful guy. If anything, he's just attacking Trump on anything and saying, like, what he should have done or what he would do, but there's not really a message there as hopeful. Biden, obviously, as mentioned before, he's caved into political correctness. He won't call it the Chinese virus. He was calling out the travel ban as xenophobic and racist, which, if a travel ban to a nation where this disease is originating from is racist, then, that's crazy. Are we really going to, in fact, like, sacrifice lives based on political correctness? Is that what we're going to go to? He's tried some press engagements. We've seen some of his, town hall online formats that just, he's either stuttering, he forgets what he's saying, he walks off early, he's waving his hands oddly, just really weird. So it doesn't look like, he's all there. At least, he's an older guy, being a president, especially being someone that active, that needs to be that active, you've got to have a high vigor and high, ability. And so press engagement's not great. He's not up there looking, he's not looking great for sure as, Trump at the, coronavirus briefings. He's got a team behind him. He's speaking well. He's, long conferences where they're answering a lot of questions. And obviously, if you look back at the H1N1, which Biden's been calling the N1H1, it's, that situation was much worse than the coronavirus. There were a lot more deaths, a lot more cases. There was a lot less government action. And so really he's been trying to, but he can't really point at that and say that they did a better job. So if when 2020 comes around, and they're on the debate stage, and Trump can pretty much call them out and say like, hey, are you willing to sacrifice lives in terms of political correctness, in regards to a travel ban? Are you willing to do that? Because Biden, quite frankly, did not want that travel ban. Maybe he didn't think of it like actually. He was just kind of caving in. But you can't just give in to the left and the mob and the political correctness when in fact lives are at stake. You've got to be able to call out that it's from China. It's a deadly virus, and in fact you need to cut travel. So I think on top, obviously I think we're gonna in terms of Trump's response, has been good. I don't say it's been like astronomically extravagant. Most administrations can't predict this kind of stuff or how exactly to deal with it. Maybe the federal government's not able to extravagantly deal with stuff like this. Maybe they just aren't. But second, how the coronavirus has, how national issues are going to be impacted. So one of the big things is the coronavirus has really played into, what we would call traditional American values. In a time of pandemic, people are turning to families, guns, safety, rather than to neutral gender bathrooms, pronouns, and higher taxes. They don't do that in times of pandemics. People are obviously not looking for higher taxes. They're not calling themselves to be taxed more. They're looking at, we need to have more money, we need to have more jobs. And now actually filing deadlines have been pushed back by several states and the federal government. So there's been several ways how in this time that, how American values have been better or preferred. And when I say American values, I mean values that you'd either find consistent or exactly the same of our founding, things that would be against a lot of what the left has been pushing, and honestly, some parts of the right too in the last 30 years. So obviously deregulation of doctors, medicine, and the right to try. Well, some of that has already been pushed through by the Trump administration and former administrations. Right now, it's very obvious. It's like we need, it doesn't matter if they're a doctor from Missouri or Minnesota or Michigan, if they need to go and help in a situation, or is one state short on doctors, like just let them, go over there and practice. Let them try different, medications, different ways to cure people. So that's a huge concern right now. Obviously, a lot of the gun shops have had huge sales, and it's not like people are explicitly like wanting to get guns to hope for a problem or they need the guns, but it's a quite honest fear that our government is a lot bigger than it's ever been, and in a time of pandemic, where you don't know exactly, like each day we're getting more restrictions, you don't know, they're gonna turn to the gun shop down the road, buy more ammo, buy more guns, rather than, a false belief that government is going to solve everything, which the left has been telling us. Like we don't need guns. We have the police. You don't need guns because it's such a safe place. It's not. And obviously people are finding comfort and security in families. More family values and family time is being especially important right now. Tax deadlines, as I said, are being delayed. That's taxes aren't being a very big concern right now. And obviously, if you look at, a lot of people looking at China or the EU, these very big, left-leaning or just very big government structures in general, or like the World Health Organization, they're not really holding up to be the saviors that they claim to be. China obviously was shutting down and trying to, curtail the world that this virus was happening. WHO has, the directors had complications with, relations to China and very sketchy, dealings there. And he didn't call it a pandemic until much later when it was pretty obvious that this was a big problem. And the EU officer was very critical of Trump's ban, and they were asking for, his permission. It's like, no, you don't need that. Our nation has its own independence. And so these large governments have not proved to be, coming through and just, really helping fight this as well as, they may have claimed. And like Sweden, it's one of the nations where they have not been really doing too much. They've, social distancing obviously is a thing common that they've been saying, but they have not been, restricting these large amounts of the population like other nations have. And, Italy has socialized and nationalized healthcare. They're not doing great, and any comparable nation that has that same structure is not doing great right now, with the amount of supplies they need. Obviously, people are spending more times outdoors, which has been shown. A lot, obviously, like hunting, spending time outdoors, is something that much more common among it gives you such much more sense to back to the land, much more appreciation for agriculture, environment, and kind of away from utopia. And so there's obviously been a negative impact of the government swings on quarantine. The New York governor came out and he was like, maybe we were too rash, maybe we were too quick on shutting everything down. Looking at the impacts and it's been having, maybe these quarantines are too much and too strict. And so that's really a lot of what's been going on there in the coronavirus has been a return or an emphasis on American freedom, American liberty, values, rather than people right now are not complaining about the mall not having gender neutral bathrooms. They're not complaining about why we're not emphasizing gay marriage more in schools, or why we're not teaching gay history in schools. We're emphasizing, like, can we get our kids back into school? Can we have lower taxes? Can we get these businesses back in operation? Because that's what matters at the end of the day. It matters most. Practically, these are issues close to home, close to one's individual rights. So third is just practical. How the election will be impacted. Obviously, we've had several states try to move their primaries around, and justice courts are shooting that down because we can't just switch everything constitutionally. So it might be it's a lot more online. States might try to do different variations of social distancing during elections. There might not be an in-person inauguration. Like, who knows? So that list could be endless. So definitely, please share your thoughts below. Obviously, we're open to free speech and good American First Amendment. So make sure to share your thoughts below. Comment, share, react, however you'd like. And this has been Sir Kelly with The Morning Watch on Undeniable Sir Kelly. Be sure to subscribe on the Morning Watch website. If you go right to www.themorningwatchmsu.com, there'll be a screen that should pop up. You can put your email there, or there's a little box to the right of the page. You can put your information in there. In addition, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay up to date on the latest leftist indoctrination at Michigan State University.